15 minutes late. We have to be 15 minutes late.
Nice.
We say 9:30 Eastern. We say that's when our show starts, but I mean, all these people that listen to us, I mean, they have no idea. They have no idea that we don't even start then. We've never started then, J. Mike.
Not ever. Not once, ever. Ever.
It's good to see that you guys are consistent. That counts, man. Consistency counts.
If nothing else, consistency matters. I think Gabe just froze. Are you there, Gabe?
I know. I'm very broken on this side. I can't figure out what exactly is going on. Oh, hey, we have a viewer, so that means that we have to do this part. All right. Hey, we're live on the open bar, fake pigskin style. The NFL. Their pod.
Gabe, bro.
You sound like Megatron, Gabe.
Nothing you're saying is coming through, bud. Check your
nothing.
Do we have any pre-recorded Gabe that we could play?
Dang it! Was I just choppy that whole
nothing you said
intro I just had?
Nothing you said came through.
Oh, it was so good. Where was I left off?
You left at
after we're live. You said we're live.
But I did say we were live.
You did.
Good. All right. That's all that we really needed. I was just mentioning that, the NFL draft happened and blah, blah, blah. J. Mike, how are you tonight, my man?
You know what? These allergies here in Cincinnati are literally destroying my soul to the very core of me. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make it through. This may be my Jordan flu game. This might be my best show ever coming up. But even though my allergies are destroying me, there's nothing that can overtake the rookie fever in my heart right now. All these dynasty, rookie drafts, rookie auctions are going. John Bosch is redlining the crap out of everything I know and love. So I'm learning a lot, and it's good. But yeah, I'm glad to be here, obviously. So, how you feeling, Gabe?
I mean, I just didn't want you to mention that name that early in the show because I'm up and down with that human.
Darth Bosch, is that what you're talking about?
Darth Bosch, yeah, very, very good. Yeah, we started our rookie auction in Bar Tab, and it's so fun. I love just following it. It's kind of one of my favorite times of the year, just to keep up with everything and throw people bullshit stats that are completely inaccurate. I hope people are just listening to me a little bit and then they feed off of it. And no.
What I do love though is you bring the extreme nerdery to it, and I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready. Like as guys are coming up off the board and these totals are going up, like you're calculating percentages left and percentages spent to last season. I'm amazed at what's going on. I had no idea that you took the auctions this seriously. Or maybe it's your profession that you're taking this seriously. I'm not sure what it is.
Oh yeah, I'm not doing a damn thing. This is completely all of my students that are doing all of this work. I don't even know how to read an Excel spreadsheet. So that's partly why we brought on Josh tonight, so he could kind of assist me with some of these things because I'm dumbfounded.
Well, I hate to break it to you guys, but I hire all that stuff out. I can't even. I don't even know how to write a formula in Excel.
All of a sudden, I feel cheated.
Yeah, I hate this to be the place where this happens, but secret's out.
It's like we actually don't know anything. Stats are for losers, as a matter of fact.
I'm a world-class charlatan.
This is looking behind the curtain and recognizing like the Wizard of Oz is not what you thought. I'm so sad.
The Wizard of Bosch.
Full circle.
Yeah, always. Well, that was a loose introduction of one of our guests. It's Josh, ADHD. How are you, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's going to be fun to be on with you guys. I'm looking forward to just kind of stumbling around topic to topic, not having any structure to work from. That's kind of what I do every day. So this is going to be a good time. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. It's
the best way to do it. I was talking to our perfect segue here, talking to our next guest, Jordan, about this off air. In our private messages. I'm not going to tell you what we were talking about because that's just a little bit too far, and frankly our business, so we'll just leave it at that. We were I don't even know where I was going with that we were talking about how natural this is, the open bar, that we're just kicking it, no show sheet. We did give Brandon a show sheet because he's kind of unorganized and he won't know what to say, so we did give Brandon a show sheet, but other than that, no one else does. Jordan McNamara, sorry. How are you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, you said the no show sheet, so that's pretty good. That's the way I like to operate, so that's great.
And this is typically what happens, is I just don't know what to say for about 2 to 3 seconds, and I tend to go to the next guest. So Brandon, if you could just wrap us up here as far as our guests. What do you have to say about yourself? We're so happy to have you.
Oh, just here so I won't get fined. Happy to be here on with you guys. Looking forward to a fun night, talking some fantasy. Excited to dive into these rookies especially. So excited to learn from you guys and share what I think as well.
Perfect.
Hey, Gabe, before we move too far along, there's a couple things of order we have to take care of.
What?
Okay. So sorry to annoy you on our show. So first things first, and this was pointed out again. Shout out to Doug Eddy in the chat already.
Eddie Doug,
a friend of ours from the Dynasty Happy Hour pod, and Trophy Time. Holla at your boy, Josh.
Yes.
The majesty that is your Macho Man T-shirt right now.
Oh yeah,
is next level beautiful. Can you please just talk through, was he your favorite growing up? Tell me something. Why Macho Man?
Why the Macho Man? He was the coolest guy growing up, especially if you hated Ric Flair. I hated Ric Flair. Woo! And I wasn't a Hulk fan. Now the Woo is cool, but everything else about Ric Flair sucks. And I wasn't a Hulk fan. I thought the Hulk was always too oily and too dark. Even though Macho Man was pretty dark himself. I mean, those dudes lived in UV rays all the time, just pounded their bodies with them. So I guess that's what made them so tough in the ring. They were just one giant melanoma taking a pounding. But I don't know. I mean, you got to support your childhood. This is my childhood. I grew up in the 80s. And I was telling my son about him tonight, the Macho Man. He asked about him. He hadn't seen the shirt before. And he's like, who is that guy? Is he a superhero? And I said, you were absolutely right, son. He's a god dang superhero, a mighty American. No, but I had to explain to him what wrestling was. He hasn't seen wrestling yet. He's only 5. And he's like, can I watch wrestling sometime, Dad? And I was like, no, bro, you're not ready to watch wrestling. I do not need you to put your sister through the coffee table with a reverse double suplex. This is not going to be good. We don't need a figure 4 leg lock on mom. We just don't need that stuff. But either way, you got to support your boys. Macho Man's my boy.
I love it.
That's what happens with the kids too, man. I remember doing all sorts of those wrestling moves: 5-star frog splash, swanton bomb, off the top rope.
It's like last week, right?
This was actually just last night, as a matter of fact. So,
you would,
yeah.
I mean, you look like you're limber enough to do all that stuff still. So that's a big plus for you.
Actually, I don't know if I am. I've had a rough 2018 as far as my athleticism. I'm trying to bring it back. So actually, I do have something to bring up. I'll share it later at some point. But I did the 40 or like the 27. Like a month ago or so, and just got smoked by this 8th grader, and I fell flat on my face as well. So that was amazing. Redeemed myself to 2 40s, ran 1 under 5 seconds. So whenever you guys are ready to start clapping,
Orlando Brown. everybody.
You said you redeemed yourself with 240s. I thought you were talking about like some old English or a little bit.
Exactly. Oh,
Moment
yeah.
before.
It's pretty much what I did the next day after that, after I fell flat on my face. That's for sure. Just couldn't get the bathroom door open with those things.
That's so absurd.
You have 2 portable bathrooms on your hands. I mean, come on.
For those listening in podcast form, you will not understand how just absurd Gabe is with that motion. The other thing I wanted to bring up.
You look like Braylon Edwards trying to catch a football.
As long as you didn't say Cortland Sutton, we good.
That's a natural progression or digression, if you will. So Brandon,
What's up?
behind you,
Yeah,
the Kraken.
unleash it.
Please take me through why the Kraken.
Oh,
That's
see what
awesome.
we got going on here. Yeah, I can't take credit for that artwork. I'm actually in a hotel in California. I'm giving a speech out here tomorrow, so I'm just in a different room, and apparently they gave me the John Travolta from Swordfish room with all the cool paintings.
Which one are you going to smuggle out?
Probably the TV. Let's see if I can get my carry-on. What I like about this painting is if you look up really close, it's all like a bunch of mini octopuses inside of the big one.
The details.
What is it? Octopuses? Octopi? I'm an irrational kind of guy, so I'd say octopi.
I know how Sean Connery would say it.
Octopus.
Octopushy.
Okay, well, since we good little observation there, J Mike. That was cute. Let's talk about fantasy football related to those two things. Josh, put you on the spot. Who is your rookie that emulates the Macho Man, Randy Savage, at this point? You can't say Tom Savage.
He's not a rookie. I can't say his name. I would say the rookie that embodies the Macho Man, that's Darius Geis. I think that's Darius Geis. And if it's not him, it's probably going to be Royce Freeman. One of those two.
Ooh.
You just made some people's day
He
about
did.
that Royce Freeman take.
I
That's for sure.
love Rolls Royce.
Yeah. He's been surging, that's for sure. No love for old Devontae Booker. Understandably, I suppose. But okay, I like it. I like Geis more than Freeman, that's for sure. Just because he's so fierce and at it. I think that is a good take. That Macho Man would be Geis.
But I mean, where does at this point, now that we know landing spots, because obviously we didn't have a show last week, so we didn't get to fire off any kind of takes, and we didn't have anyone on to fire takes. Where? Actually, we did have a show. Gabe, you weren't here. Where after landing spots? Where does Royce Freeman land for you guys? Because I feel like a lot of people feel like he's trash, and a lot of people feel like he is like the third running back off the board. I
says he's trash?
No idea.
I want to have words with these people.
I feel like many a draft Twitterers are not Royce Freeman fans.
It's Josh. It's Jake Bittner. Go find him on Twitter.
I'm gonna add that son bitch.
Yeah.
I love Royce Freeman. I'll make the case for him. He's 230 pounds, which, the big bell cow is the type that I look for to begin with. And then when you add in the fact that he caught, I think it was 80 out of 89 passes thrown his way in college. That was a stat by Pro Football Focus. That makes him one of the best pass catchers in this class behind Saquon Barkley. And then you throw in his agility scores, which I'm sure Jordan could tell us the best on how he did from a weight perspective. But the guy has everything you want. I mean, what more do you want? And he got a spot with the Denver Broncos, who want to focus on giving the ball to the running back and running the game through the running back. So I'm all in on Josh Freeman and hoping to scoop him in every league.
I hope you're not taking Josh Freeman. I hope it's
Yeah,
Royce.
don't do that.
Don't make the mistake. Yeah, he was my number 4. he was my number 4 running back before the draft, and he's my number 4 running back after the draft. So he hadn't changed at all. So I mean, he's 107 speed score. I mean, he's a sub 7-second 3-cone at 230 pounds is pretty. It's pretty legit. And you watch him on tape; his feet are great. So yeah, I'm all in at 104. He's my number 4 running back.
Is that an omelet?
What's that?
It's the Royce Freeman.
Gabe just whipped out an omelet at like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. If you watch closely, I haven't told many people this. There is a surprise object that will come in at some point during the show. Typically not a plate of food, but tonight's that night. Jordan, I'm sorry for interrupting you, my man. Royce Freeman, though, I think that you are one of the few, in my opinion, to kind of stay true to him as your number. I think there's a lot of fakes out there that just really like that Denver landing spot and like, oh, we're gonna run the ball, and oh, I didn't know he was 230 pounds. Oh, I didn't know he caught 80 out of 89 passes. It's like they're just kind of discovering him. They're all so overwhelmed with there are a lot of other running backs that we've been looking at, and he seemed like he was more of a second-round guy, and now he seems to be more of that mid-round first, which really I thought he was coming out last year and where I thought he was going to land. I thought he'd be on the back end of it, like that Dalvin Cook and McCaffrey. I thought he was going to jump into that mix a little bit, and then he kind of had a off year in 2017. So wheels up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I actually thought that he would land just sort of how the market was playing him. I thought he was going to end up around the turn. I thought he'd be a late first, early second round pick.
Yeah,
right. He's right there in the mid first now. And he had a down year in 16, and he bounced back big in 17. So I was surprised that this market was down on. I've sort of always been on him. So I guess it's unfortunate from a value perspective, but I guess it's good on my analysis.
Well, let's call it what it is. In the fantasy world, especially in Dynasty, it's who's the flavor of the week, or flavor of the year. So all the guys who are hot this most recent year are the ones who go skyrocketing up boards. Like DJ Moore, I think, is a perfect example of a player who was a relative nobody in the Dynasty world. Jordan, I know previous to like February, he was like a 3rd round pick. I had him marked as like a guy I was going to get in the 3rd round, late 2nd. Now all of a sudden he's 104, 105. And not that he's not a good player, and he got drafted in the 1st round for a reason, but he's kind of a one-hit wonder, and not player-wise, but just from a rise standpoint, reminds me a lot of Kevin White. If you guys remember, he was similar story where he was kind of a nobody for most of his career, went to a poor school, wasn't really good in high school, and then just had a monster final season of college and ended up, 102, 103 in most drafts behind Amari Cooper and Todd Gurley. And I don't know. It's just weird. Like for me, I like guys who have been the guy their entire life.
Yeah. And you know what the funny part is on him? Like no one watches Maryland football, so no one really knew who he was until everyone started crunching the numbers in February. Like it was just
market share, bro.
Right. It was just a market share. I remember I was sitting in a Starbucks, which is unsurprising to people who listen to UTH. And I had finished my numbers, and he jumped right to the top, and I was like, whoa. And then I went back and I watched him, and I liked what I saw. I don't know if I see the 103, 104 talk that he's received in some places, but I like him as sort of I probably won't get many shares of him considering where he's going. But yeah, I like him as a player. I just wonder what his ceiling is.
I think that what's super interesting right now, at least in the couple of auctions that I'm in currently for rookies, is that the wide receivers are super flat in terms of the way that they're being valued. And again, I think it's a little bit different in drafts where I've seen Moore basically be the first one off, or Kirk, those two guys kind of flipping and flopping those spots in drafts. But when it comes to the auction style, in terms of people actually putting a dollar amount to these guys, it doesn't seem like anyone's that much like heads and shoulders above. Because I feel like even before the process, a lot of people were James Washington people, Cortland Sutton, which I know that's Gabe's guy. But what are you guys thinking in terms of the group of wide receivers, in terms of now that we know their landing spots? Are you guys excited? Are you guys thinking that pretty much everybody's even? Are you happy to get any of them? Who stands out to you? What's the deal at this point?
You know, I like DJ Moore even better now that he's in Carolina. I'm super excited.
Really?
For him. Anyway, yeah, I do. I think he is in an ideal landing spot. And I understand, Brandon, I understand the argument against him, but what I see in him is he has immense measurables. He runs good routes, in my opinion. I think he runs good routes, what I've watched of him. And I think he's the kind of player that if you stick him in a Norv Turner offense, Norv Turner will get him the ball 100 times this year. And in Dynasty, you would kill for that in the middle of the first round, that amount of touch opportunity, especially at not the running back position. So for me, I really like him at the top. The other guys I like this year, and I liked them even though they could have gone anywhere. I like Cortland Sutton. I've liked him the whole time. I did think he stayed in college forever, which always kind of concerned me. You know, it seemed like he was the Jason White of wide receivers in college.
Yes, thank you.
When the hell is this motherfucker going to get out of college? He's 70. And it's like, I don't really want to see, you know, wide receiver Greg Oden out there on the field, but at the same time, the dude can ball. But it makes me ask the question, why didn't he come out sooner? And I really don't understand that, other than maybe he made a commitment to his mom to stay in school. I mean, it's just, there's some stuff we don't know there, I think. So I like Sutton a lot. And the other guy that I kind of like, and the name is just totally flying away on me, so I have to think about it. I kind of like Equanimeous St. Brown coming into the draft. Now I'm really kind of off of him based on his draft position. I've got some real concerns about a guy that slides all the way down into the 7th round, unless there is a social issue that is preventing him from being drafted at his talent level, so to speak. So, you know, I was on with Fantasy Mansion last week, and we kind of talked about that off air a little bit. And he conjectured that, you know, maybe he told teams that he could kneel during the anthem, and that put him on their shit list. And if he's on enough team shit list, he is going to slide to the 7th round. So, you know, the question there is he going to overcome whatever teams think about him to excel in this league? I think he has the skill to do it. It's just a question of whether he's going to be blackballed or not.
I'll say this, J. Mike. I think that this might be the most productive rookie wide receiver class that we've had since 2014. And I don't know if you guys have done a startup recently, but the wide receiver position is just drying up super quick. You know, that 2014 class with Evans and Odell and Adams and A-Rob and Landry is really kind of keeping the wide receiver position alive. And we haven't had any real talent come to the surface since then. You know, we've had Cooper, but pretty much everyone else from that class kind of flamed out. And since then, in last year's class, all the first rounders were disappointments from a production standpoint. So I think between Kirk and Anthony Miller and DJ Moore and maybe some guys in the later rounds see the field, Dante Pettis, this might be the most productive wide receiver class we've had in several years.
And shout out to the live YouTube chat for those that are checking us out on podcast form, obviously. Live show on YouTube.
What's up, guys?
9:30 Eastern, give or take 15 to 20 minutes. So again, a lot of our fun folks. Doug Eddy, like I said before, Jake Anderson, the Open Bars official, unofficial agent and procurer of talent.
He's supposed to be on vacation this week.
Yeah. Go enjoy your vacation, Jake, you jerk. Peter and Peter Howard shouted out, and Mike Stepney's in here too. But Peter Howard shouted this out. He said, Brandon, to your point, this is the most productive wide receiver class since 2014, to be exact. Just with and I know he does a ton of data analysis and whatnot. But one thing I definitely want to hit on that they said in the chat here, and I didn't recognize this, but according to, I guess, some information on Roto Underworld podcast, ESB said that he refused to play special teams, which is one of the reasons why he fell to the 7th. Had you guys heard that before?
I heard that today. I heard Evan Silva talk about it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about kneecapping your own career from the get-go.
Right.
Yeah.
That puts me further off of him.
Seems like prima donna written all over him, right?
Yeah. Just a total Golden Domer thing, you know?
Yes.
I'm the only draft prospect with a Q in my name. You expect me to play special teams?
Child, please. Yeah, so, and I mean, I think out of all the guys who we saw take just precipitous falls from before the actual draft to after, John Kelly being in that group, because obviously feels like draft Twitter was higher on him than the NFL was. And ESB. I mean, ESB was taken in, like, at one point, and shout out to Tyler Gunther, head at DHH. He was like his wide receiver 1 or 2, I think, at the time. And I mean, the guys now, like, I think you can probably scoop them up in most third rounds if you wanted to, but I'm not sure you don't even want to burn the capital at that point. I can't call it. I cannot call it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you saying or asking us who was a guy you wanted on every single one of your teams, you know, a couple months ago. And that's who I answered was ESB, because I was thinking it'd be a mid-second, and now I'm mid-third, and like, all right.
About that.
Yeah.
Shoo-wee. Another thing that came up in the pot, just in your drafts, and this is this going to be one of those cases where when we look back in 2 to 3 years that we got any and all of these guys, specifically the wide receivers, much cheaper than they'll ever be at this point on?
Christian Kirk.
Of course, the Arizona native.
Oh, guy, can we talk about my boyfriend for a couple minutes? Guys,
Just go for it.
I'm all in on Christian Kirk.
Will you
I was
please,
pre-draft.
put him in the pod there with you on the cam? I know he's probably there. So just, hey, Christian. Hey.
I was so excited when he landed with my Cardinals, but just as a prospect, I think he's much more complete than most of the dynasty world has given him credit for. The guy dominated in the SEC. You know, he dominated NFL corners each and every week, and I don't know what else you want. In today's PPR world, the guys who catch, 5 balls on a floor minimum are the kind of guys that I like to invest in. So I think the fantasy dynamic has changed in the sense that the Dez Bryant, DT, AJ Green, Mike Evans body frame of that 6'5", 6'4" prototype that we've always looked for, a lot of those guys haven't panned out, in recent years, unless you're a freak. Like Mike Evans is kind of the last one, like the Devontae Parkers and the Kevin Whites and the Dorial Green Beckhams, the Equinemius St. Browns, Cortland Sutton. They're all kind of really, really raw coming in, so they take a long time to actually do anything on the field. And dynasty owners just aren't that patient, So the guys who come out of the box ready to play and produce, you can see a lot quicker return on your investment. So that's why I love guys like Kirk and Anthony Miller, and even DJ Moore to a certain extent, because I think they're going to walk in and catch passes, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I want to hop in on Kirk for a second. It's full disclosure. I'm an A&M grad. I watched every single one of Christian Kirk's games, and the second that dude stepped on the field as a true freshman and took one back to the house on a punt return, he had NFL written all over him. You could see it in the way that he moved. And from then on,
he's special.
He's very special. He's a special player. And what sucks is that A&M couldn't showcase him properly because they've had nothing but a menagerie of shit quarterbacks for the last 3 seasons. So I don't blame him for leaving early, because he wasn't going to get the exposure as a senior that he could get just going to the pros with the stock that's already invested in him now. So that said, I totally agree with you that he's going to be, I think, is pretty special pro. He's going to go to an offense where, he can grow with the quarterback in Rosen. I think that's going to be special for him because he can immediately develop the rapport with the guy that's going to be there projected for a decade. I mean, that's what they drafted him to do. He's going to learn under Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, he's in the ideal situation for a kid to come in and perfect his route running ability and learn all the nuance of the game. And oh, by the way, he gets to hook up with his quarterback for a long time that will probably make him the apple of his eye. So it's kind of it's a really cherry situation for a player that has a ton of upside that we didn't get to see in college. And I can't wait to see it.
You don't like the Trevor Knight, Kellen Mond combination, getting him the ball? I can't believe you'd say some stuff like that, Josh.
Trevor Knight was okay. I didn't have too much trouble with Trevor Knight. I mean, if you want to tout Josh Allen as a pro quarterback, you might as well stick Trevor Knight in there because they're the same freaking dude. So Kellen Mond, I mean, he's as a Debbie prospect, I really like Kellen Mond.
Yeah. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, he can run. I mean, he reminds me a bit of Lamar Jackson, but he's so raw as a passer to the point where he can't throw the ball a lot of the time as a true freshman. So we'll see what happens with him this year. I'm tempering my expectations. I'll put it like that, even though they have Jimbo now.
Jimbo.
But Christian Kirk, wheels up, bro.
Is he your all's 101 wide receiver? I'm sorry. Let me try that again. Not 101. That's not what I mean. I'm gonna take those words back. That's not what I meant, guys. Is he your wide receiver one in this class after the draft?
He was my wide receiver one before and after. He was my 103 prior to the draft, and now he's 104 overall.
Ooh wee. What do you say, Jordan?
Old.
Yeah, he's probably there as my wide receiver one. I don't see myself getting him in many drafts. Just sort of how my board's playing out. I'm waiting on wide receiver and taking basically the fourth one off the board.
Okay.
I think for me, he's probably still 2 for me, but it's really close. It's more like a 1.5 against DJ Moore, but it's really close.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to stay true to Sutton here. And then, but DJ Moore and Kirk are right there for me as far as a 2-3. And really, I mean, we talked about it before. There's probably about 4 or 5 guys you can almost put in one tier, but just based off of talent, maybe not necessarily their landing spot, their immediate impact, whatnot. You know, Sutton's probably might not be the guy for a couple years, 3 years, but I mean, but this talk so far that we've had, it really seems like that coming in, it sort of seemed like that these wide receivers were kind of meh, a little undervalued, not much that we've seen, but now like it's the most production since 2014, but all these running backs are coming in. So is it the recency bias that everyone's on these running backs trying to find a 3-down back, trying to get that dude? Is it that they're actually good a little bit, and that the wide receivers are just falling? Is it a combination of both? I mean, it's nice to be able to possibly pick up these guys in the late first. Cause I mean, Brandon, you say 104, but you can scoop up Kirk at 204 sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah. I got him at 109. That's a good point, Gabe. I think that the reason is what you said. The last 3 years, how many of you have been burned by drafting a wide receiver in the first round of your rookie draft?
And
Nelson Aguilar.
That's been the thing for the last.
Brashad Perriman. Mike Williams. I know I have.
Kevin White. That's too many mentions of that.
Yeah. So that's probably why, is because people have just been getting burned so recently. They're like, screw it. I'm not going to invest highly in a wide receiver again until they prove it. And I think this class is loaded. I love this draft class. 2019 is going to be pretty bare because everyone came out this year. You got Bryce Love, who's like 190 pounds, is going to be your RB1. So.
There's a couple guys I like a lot next year's group, but that is to be determined. Hello, David Montgomery. Hello, Damian Harris, who I really was sour that he didn't come out this year. But maybe it was for the best, because I think that he'll be at the top of a really interesting class next year, since all the rave is about the wide receivers next year. Real quick, because when we've mentioned Courtland Sutton a few times, can we touch on the Broncos real quick? And I'll pull up Spotrac or Spotrac, however you say it, here in just a second. There's a halfway decent possibility that Demaryius Thomas, and or Emmanuel Sanders are not back next year. So how high are you guys thinking of taking not just Sutton, but also Deshaun Hamilton, who was also picked by the Broncos? I mean, that's a lot of rookie love, right? A lot of rookie skill positions that they took between Sutton, Freeman,
Don't forget about Henderson.
Hamilton. And golly, man.
Sutton and Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders are two of their top 3 cap hits in 2019. So that's just an untenable position for 2 aging receivers. So you figure you might have to be patient on Sutton, but that 2019 seems like it's it's a green light for him to be top 2, if not the guy, with the way that Demaryius and Emmanuel Sanders are sort of progressing in their career.
That could be a trade like mid to late season too from the Broncos, just to kind of push a team over the edge or whatever. Because I don't know about y'all, but I don't necessarily see the Broncos competing, especially in that division this year. So maybe they could end up trading and get pushed in earlier than we think. I don't know.
I think they keep Sanders next year. And the reason I say that is because he is less reliant on physical talent and ability than Demaryius Thomas. Demaryius Thomas, I mean, we've seen him play. He's a bull that runs 4.4. So, but I think we've seen his skills maybe start to diminish a little bit. Whereas Sanders, as a preeminent route runner in the league, he can win even though his skills may start to diminish a little bit. So my opinion is I think they keep Sanders. They may end up restructuring him to some degree, and they're either going to – I think they would cut Thomas or try to maybe restructure him to something that's super team-friendly that benefits him staying around versus getting the Dez Bryant treatment and ending up on the street. Now, we'll say this. If Demaryius Thomas gets cut, there's probably 10 teams at his door within 30 minutes wanting to talk to him. Versus Dez Bryant, that's nuclear right now. He's plutonium, and nobody wants to handle him, and I don't blame him.
So you brought up a good point, Jordan. I'm looking at these numbers real quick on these guys. So after this season, the Broncos can get out from both Sanders and Thomas. In 2019, Emmanuel Sanders has a cap hit of almost $13 million. Demaryius Thomas has a cap hit of almost $17.5 million. So I think I don't feel like there's any possible way that they keep Thomas unless like you said, I think it was Josh, did you say they restructure either one or both of those guys? And quiet as it's kept, and I don't think a lot of people appreciate this about Emmanuel Sanders, the dude stays open when he's healthy. Like, stays open. Whether Brock's his quarterback, like whoever, doesn't matter. Like, he stays open.
Yeah, he's legit. That dude is the truth. And can you believe that Pittsburgh drafted him and Antonio Brown in the same draft?
That's absurd.
It is. That's, I don't think we can say enough about Pittsburgh's ability to spot wide receiver talent in the draft late and stomp on it.
Hello, James Washington.
Yeah, Juju last year. Yeah, now we got James Washington this year. So I think, and not to get too off topic here from the Broncos, but we may want to come back and talk about James Washington for a minute and the situation he's walking into in Pittsburgh.
Just wide receivers in general for Pittsburgh. I mean, for Mike, you can go back to Mike Wallace, even before the Antonio Brown. I mean, I know
they're on the same team, right?
Yeah. I mean, they got some love out of Darius Hayward-Bay at times, and people kind of dig on Eli Rogers some. So, I mean, Marcus Wheaton. I thought that was like their miss, the Marcus Wheaton. I always thought that he was kind of – it's like, if I could say one thing about the Steelers, they missed on Marcus Wheaton.
But it shows you that they have a type. Pittsburgh totally has a type. Yeah. And that James Washington fits that type. Like, he's Martavis Bryant. He's Marcus Wheaton. He's Plaxico Burress. So obviously they've got some kind of archetype in mind for the body type, the physical traits in a wide receiver. And I think James Washington kind of fits that mold really well.
Maybe it's
I'll say for you, super flex.
Go for it, Brandon.
I was going to say, for those of you who play Superflex, I think the Steelers quarterback, Mason Rudolph, is a guy that you're going to want to stash on your bench. I would actually draft him ahead of Josh Allen in Superflex because the Steelers are fantasy gold. The Steelers have been fantasy gold since I've been alive, and they're good at receiver. They're good at finding running backs. I mean, if you want a guy who's going to produce, apparently they saw something in Mason. You know, Big Ben is near the cliff. You know, he says he wants to play, but dude's been talking retirement for years, and he's carried. I mean, he's got the best two players in the NFL making him look good every week, and if not for them, I don't know that he'd even be in the league.
And one of the best 5 offensive lines in football blocking for him every week. I didn't think about this until just now when you started talking about Mason Rudolph, Brandon, but I kind of think that Pittsburgh might have taken Rudolph to piss Big Ben off on purpose and make him stay.
It's worked.
Clearly. I mean, they would know his psychology better than anybody. I mean, you would hate to think that a team would treat a draft pick as a luxury like that, like it could be a fuck you pick to one of its own players. But if it keeps him around 3 more years, isn't it worth it?
How can you argue with it?
How about being a fly on the wall in that QB room? I mean, that's got to be awkward as hell.
They might have 2 QB rooms. They might have Rudolph in the other room looking through a one-way mirror, you know, to learn about osmosis.
Ben's on the other side, just giving him the finger.
Just double birds the whole time. Just
Lionel Richie playing in the background.
That's a one-way mirror, Ben. You can see you flipping him off, Ben. It's not a 2-way mirror, Ben. Ben, don't take Ben. No, don't take that out.
That's just how Ben is. He hates himself that much.
That's so bad.
Hey, Josh, you mentioned Dez. Do you think it's production? You think it's off field, or a combination of both? He's just not worth the headache. What's your take on that?
I think it's price tag, and I think it's headache. Bottom line, because he's at the Anquan Bolden stage, right? Late stage Anquan Bolden, where he can be super productive slot receiver if he wanted to be. That's beautiful. But hey, wait, that's not Christian Kirk.
Yeah, can you see the tagline?
Oh, welcome to Sephora. But yeah, Dez is a headache, and I think he's probably portrayed as much more of a headache than he really is, because being in Dallas his whole career, the radio guys and the newspaper guys there, they spend all their time stirring up shit and talking about non-stories. And Dez is the pinnacle of non-stories. Every time he waves his arms on the sideline or acts emotional when he's not getting 8 targets a game, which he should have been, then he becomes this total distraction to the team and distraction to everything the Cowboys are trying to do, which is effectively just trying to lose games the hard way. But all that said, I don't see Dez finding a place to go this year. I think he's probably going to end up just sitting on his couch, waiting on a phone call, waiting on somebody to pop an Achilles, blow an ACL, and a team be desperate for a wide receiver 1.5. Just get somebody in here that can go get the ball in the red zone.
It's the Colin Kaepernick effect, right? Like, it's always entertaining when people are like, every time a quarterback signs, oh, Colin Kaepernick's way more talented. It's like, well, the main job of being a football player is kind of being invisible if you're not the main guy, you know. And Dez can't be a backup. Colin can't be a backup. Johnny Manziel can't be a backup, because every single time that something isn't going right, the media is going to be pouncing on the coach. When's Kaepernick playing? You know, when's Dez going to get more targets? And that attention just isn't worth, you know, the talent that they provide.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the league being so fresh off of Terrell Owens probably weighs some into those decisions in those front offices. It's, you know, if he wasn't like, you know, 3-4 years removed from the league, you'd probably have a lot more of these offices saying, well, we could probably get this guy to straighten out a little bit, and maybe he could be a good teammate. You know, they go through the whole rationalization limbo and try to make it work. And we saw what happened with Terrell Owens. He washed out everywhere he went because of the same social issues. So I'll be surprised if Dez plays this year, bottom line.
I'd love to see him in Green Bay. I mean, Rodgers slinging it to him. They have a need. I mean, that's just not the type of move they make. But it seems like a good match stylistically in terms of what he does and the targets that they could throw to him.
Yeah, but don't you kind of already have the same thing in Geronimo Allison to some degree? I mean, he's bigger. Allison's bigger. He's taller. He's faster. I think he's rangier. The only question is, can he get the ball in the red zone? And we haven't seen Allison be given that opportunity yet. But that may be the conversation that they're having in Green Bay is, well, is he any better than Allison? Is he any better than St. Brown that we just drafted? So it would be cool to see him in Green Bay. I agree. I just don't think he's going to end up there. I don't think he'll end up in Philly because they're team analytics and they're not going to put up with the guy on the backside when they've already got Alshon Jeffrey. So it's I'm just not seeing a landing spot for him anymore. I think all the chairs are taken.
Quick rewind to our Big Ben conversation, and this was retweeted. One of my boys, Cody Kutzer, writer over at DHH at C Kutzer. He's also in the chat with us this evening, and he's also suggesting Dez to New England, which we can come back to if we want to. That would be so disgusting, and I would hate it for everyone involved. But he retweeted something from Bill Crawford. He's from the DVE morning show. He says, Big Ben wasn't going to go to the Pens game tonight, but when they offered his tickets to Mason Rudolph, he committed to all remaining home games for the next 5 years. Which was just comedy. I love that so much.
He committed to carry the T-shirt cannon at every intermission for the next 5 years.
Every single one. Driving the Zamboni and everything. That's good.
Your team's black.
Yeah, but the Dez to New England, it's a sexy thought, right? Like that, it inspires us.
Hold on, wait. Is it really that sexy?
Well, you think I would say this for people that are into Dez still and think Dez still has what it takes to be, a top 12 wide receiver in the NFL. It's super sexy, right? Because he's like, okay, well, he's going to go to this team that scores 550 points every year, and they're going to throw the ball 650 times and wing it around. There's tons of targets for him to be had, and lots of guys that can run coverage off of him. And they're thinking 2007 Randy Moss. The problem is Dez is not 2007 Randy Moss. Not even close. Like, he can't run a 9 like Moss could run. Granted, that's really all Moss could run, but he was the best ever at it. And Dez in New England, I mean, you think back in this, like, they just dealt with Martellus Bennett, and then they kicked him off the team effectively, and then they brought him back and did whatever with him. So they've had malcontents in New England before, but it's always under the thought that, well, these guys are going to mind it for a year because they want to win a trophy. Corey Dillon, good example. I'm trying to think of a couple defensive players they brought in there just at the end of their careers that were considered malcontents, but kind of held it together for one season to win. I don't think Dez is that guy. I don't see it in Dallas. I think if he'd been more that guy in Dallas, then you probably might have seen it a little bit more. Maybe, and J Mike, I think you said it, fade to the background, right? You don't want that guy to be seen. So I think if Dez was that guy, you would have seen it already.
I just find it interesting how, and to that point in New England, they more than anyone bring guys in to fulfill a specific role, right? So if that's the case, he's not doing what Brandon Cooks did in terms of stretching the field. He's not doing what Julian Edelman would do, which is getting open at the line of scrimmage or even closer to the line of scrimmage. Like, my only thing is, what would they be bringing him in to do that will be advantageous for what their offense has done over the last, 10 years or so? I don't know.
What can he do that Kenny Britt doesn't already offer them?
Right.
Who's already on the roster?
Right. Or what's his name for the guy from Georgia, Malcolm Mitchell, or any like what are you doing better? I don't know. And shout out to all the Dez lovers, Cowboy lovers. I don't mean any malice against you. I'm just saying I don't see it with your boy. I don't.
our first lady. You got to be careful.
Yeah, Casey might try to kill me off that. You're right.
All right, guys, I got a question.
Uh-oh.
No.
So I gotta-
That's only for the chat.
I have an auction startup league that's happening this summer. How much of your budget would you put to own Saquon Barkley?
Is this a John Bosch type league or a regular auction?
I don't know what that means.
Is it,
Is it
do you have
PPR?
does the money go away after the auction?
Yeah, there's no salary. Once you own the player, you own him forever for free, basically.
Okay.
Superflex?
Superflex with a bonus flex spot.
PPR?
That's just normal. So PPR, yep.
And Superflex. I mean, you got to think that he drops down into the mid-second or so, or maybe later. I guess he's gone 101. I've seen the 101 happen in a startup. So I don't know. I would still say like 20% max for me, but that's like a lot.
And
still.
that's not going to get it.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Then it's not
Because
even
I
worth
want him.
Exactly.
No.
I want him, but it's like you have to pay, astronomical prices. And all right. So here's the question: do you think that Saquon Barkley will be more buyable 12 months from now? Like, will it be more reasonable? Like, will the hype flatten out a bit, or will it just get worse and even crazier? Because it's hard.
Can it get more expensive?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, is it
That's what I'm
possible
saying.
to get more expensive than he is right now? It just doesn't seem like. It just doesn't seem like that's possible.
If he holds true to the hype, then it's like, oh yeah, told you so. I
Right.
knew it.
Right.
Because
He's worth your roster.
right. Look at if you take the Twitter polls that you've seen, substitute Saquon's name with Le'Veon Bell, how many more people would do the trade to get the package versus Le'Veon Bell or versus Zeke, right? But with Saquon's name in there, everybody and their mom wants Saquon, and I get it. He's great. I'm just not going to own. I'm probably not going to own him in any league because I don't want to pay that for him.
Amen, brother.
That's
Amen.
that's just me.
There's the other side of the coin where it's like you're like, man, if I miss this chance, it could be just like watching Adrian Peterson for a decade destroy defenses, and you don't get to enjoy it. Like you don't have any pleasure in that pie.
I don't know. Running backs are fungible, in my opinion. You can find a Saquon Barkley performance every week on the waiver wire. And that's what always gets me back to not overpaying for those guys. And it's just me. I struggle. I don't like running backs all that much because I think they're just eminently replaceable guys in this version of NFL offenses, 2018. So much passing, so much interchangeability with running backs. And obviously, if you get a chance at a guy that you think is going to be 350 touches year in, year out for 5 to 7 years, that's worth a premium, right? And Brandon, I think that's what you're saying is it's worth the premium to get him there because it's kind of a set it and forget it roster spot. So you're paying a premium for that. I can see the benefit to that. My only concern is he's not 100% prospect. Nobody is. He's not a guarantee. And I think you asked the question, is he going to be cheaper 12 months from now? I think he absolutely will be. And I think that's because Eli Manning is going to suck the life out of him. And who knows? I mean, maybe, and I hate to say this, but maybe he gets hurt midseason. Maybe that's your buying opportunity when he gets hurt and a team's desperate because they put so much into him and maybe they're in playoff contention. They want to win. I mean, maybe that's your strike point. Maybe it's the strike point after the season. So I think right now, and J Mike, I think you mentioned this, or maybe Jordan, the highest it's ever going to be at his price. I think we're here. It's nowhere but down for here. So why buy at the peak? Let somebody else shoulder that burden.
And these guys there's always a valley, right? I mean, they don't always stay at the peak. I mean, Zeke during the suspension, I think Fournette, you can get him at a discount. I mean, David Johnson got hurt. I mean, all these guys, like there will be a dip in his price at some point.
Yep.
We haven't seen it yet where it doesn't happen.
Tear.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. But I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about, like, I see, like, Josh, I hear what you're saying about, like, the running back position is fungible. But at the same time, like we look at the NFL right now, and like this is the most draft pedigree they've spent on running back since '08. And last year was the same thing. I mean, we're looking at 2 classes back to back where we see a ton of, I mean, we're 50% above the average in terms of what teams spent on running backs in the draft. And, you know, and you see these guys on, and I mean, the hit rate on round 1 running backs is 90, it's 90% is producing a fantasy starter season. Is the fungibility of the running back position, is that a narrative of like 4 bad classes in a row, or is that really what's happening? I don't know that, but I tend to think that teams still prefer 3-down running backs. They just couldn't get them for such a long period of time.
I think that's a very fair point, and the only way to find out is to watch the games this year, right, and see what teams tell us. So, and this is kind of like, this is the headbutting that we get, you know, the analytics guys and the football guys, they're butting their heads over right now, is the analytics guys are saying, well, you guys are telling us running back means nothing because you keep swapping them in and out, and none of them are markedly better than their peers, except for Le'Veon Bell or David Johnson. I mean, there are some guys that are, I want to say, they're not head and shoulders. They're just maybe 10% better. So if that's the case, and the teams are telling us that because they keep drafting specialists or they keep drafting part-timers, what would cause that to change? And the only thing that could cause that to change is, Jordan, like you mentioned, it's a draft class where you have guys that are legitimate 3-down players that rise to the top. Or it goes the other way, and the dilution of running back talent continues further at the college level because of the offenses that are being run, because they run all these air raid spread systems that don't call for a 3-down running back, a traditional 3-down running back. So I wish I could predict what was going to happen. I can't. So I'm just like, I just got to watch the games and see what the NFL teams tell us at that point, and maybe make a more informed decision going forward. But based on what I know from the past few years, I'm going to eschew running back as long as I can, and I'm going to throw a lot of shit at the wall and hope some of it sticks. That's my option, just because I hate paying for running backs right now.
Let's do this. Yep. I'm kind of curious how you guys, all of you, I want to hear from all of you, where if you could build a dynasty team, start your dynasty team off with any 2 players, and we'll say make it reasonable. So like if you were in a draft, what's a first-round player, running back or receiver, and a second-round player, running back or receiver, that you would want to build your core dynasty team around?
That's an excellent question.
Can I go first? I want to go first.
Yes.
Do it.
Number 1.
I'll allow it.
Julio Jones.
Julio!
He's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, Mike Evans.
Wow. Twin Towers. Huh.
But that's how I roll. Like I said, I'm not anti-running back, but I'm team put it off as long as you can. Kick that can down the road. I'm going to take elite wide receiving talent whenever I can.
I love it.
I don't mind that at all. I think
Michael Thomas is a very, very close third.
Mm.
No love for.
So not. I guess you said 1 from each round, so you couldn't do, I guess, like Antonio and Michael, or like Antonio and Julio. That wouldn't be as good. But.
Well, Julio right now on DLF, according to
rounder.
April ADP data, he's going at 16.
That's insane. That is insane.
Behind Dalvin, like behind Kareem.
Dude, last year. Weird.
The Steve Sarkisian effect. That's all that is. What was he? He was like PPR wide receiver, like number 5 or something last year.
Yeah.
4. I mean, he was incredibly high. And to drop that far after that kind of campaign because you didn't score 8 touchdowns, I mean, that's just a harsh penalty. It just blows my mind. I don't get it.
He'll have a better year with Calvin Ridley for sure. Jordan, what 2 players you building your dynasty around?
I think running back's in a renaissance right now, but when you look at it, the only place that really receiver makes sense over running backs in a startup is early. So I would go early. I'd probably take, Beckham, and if I had to go at the end of the second round, I'd probably take Davante Adams.
There's the name I was waiting to hear.
Yeah, I like that Adams call quite a bit.
I mean, he's a number one wide receiver. No one gives him any respect, but he's attached to, the best quarterback of our generation for the foreseeable future. And I mean, and they've made a decision that he's their guy. And, they haven't gone out and gotten Dez. I mean, I think it speaks volumes to what they think about him. And if you watch, I watch Rodgers, and just he's a funky personality. So here's a guy who's written off his family. I mean, just weird stuff that he does. But when you watch Davante Adams was going through all of his struggles in year 2, and Aaron Rodgers kept pumping him the ball. He kept pumping him the ball. So when Aaron Rodgers speaks and acts towards a player like he did with Davante Adams, I think it speaks volumes to what type of player he thinks Adams is. He's one of my favorite players in Dynasty right now at his cost, because I don't think people respect. I think he still has some of that early part of his career tinged to his value. So I think he's still gettable, and I own him as much as anyone I own in Dynasty in terms of veterans.
Adams will be a top 5 player this year.
Yeah, Jordy's gone. He was that top 5 dude forever, and now he's gone. And there isn't even a type to compete with him. It's not Randall Cobb. Sorry, McDowell. I mean, but he just can't. It can't be that dude. I guess we all hope that it's ESB, not, or even Allison to be a top 30 guy, hopefully 40 guy if we're lucky with Allison. Yeah, no respect. I mean, he still doesn't have any respect, even when he was down in the later 100s of ADP going into his 3rd year or something. What a crash that was to scoop him up that late. It's amazing.
Gabe, what 2 players you build in your dynasty around?
It's hard for me to fade Mike Evans. It would either be Mike Evans or Odell still. For me, I guess it's a weird offseason for Odell, but I'm not really sweating it that much. And
they're both going in the first round though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I'm saying one of those 2 guys is
okay.
Have to go in the first round.
He's hoping to pick 11th.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm just trying to sell to you guys that everyone is really nervous about Odell, so I think I'm getting them at 12 and 13, just so. Oh man, I can't believe how many running backs are in the top 24 now.
Yeah, man.
I'm looking, and it's
they're everywhere.
13. More than half of the picks in the first 2 rounds are running backs. That was never a thing 2 to 3 years ago. It was all these wide receivers. Shoot, I guess I got to go Odell, and I think honestly, just for longevity and might not, just for balance, I guess, and I'll bite this bullet, but I think that he should be respected along with some of these guys. Just as far as longevity, I think he's going to be around for a long time as McCaffrey, and he's just going to be involved in an offense. And so I'm more swinging. I'm picturing my snake draft. I'm thinking like an Odell and a Christian McCaffrey. That's where I'm sitting. So, I don't know, man. Dude, he kind of gets no respect for what he's kind of done in that first year. It truly was impressive what he did and how he got involved in the passing game. And people are, I think the big thing on fantasy Twitter now is can he be a 3-down guy? Yeah, man. Have you seen his biceps in the recent selfie from Cam Newton? I think that's all you need to see.
I like that. That's a safe bet, because I think McCaffrey's a lock for that 70+ catches a year, which is money in PPR.
And just imagine if he starts to get the carries too. I know they just scooped CJ, but I wouldn't be sweating that as much as I don't know, others are seeming to believe. I swear, if he starts to get these Le'Veon Bell type of work, the dude can be special.
I like it. J-Mike, who are you too?
Man, I'm looking. Before I jump to mine, Jordan, let's go back to yours real fast. And Jake brought this up in the chat. Does Devontae Adams having 3 concussions over 2 years, 2 in 2017, 1 in 2016, does that scare you at all?
That's true.
Like, how does that weigh for you?
I mean, I think it's a concern, but it's not changing its value to me. It's just not.
Okay.
I mean, anyone can get a career-ending injury on any play. So, I think they'll manage it. They're getting better at it. It doesn't concern me.
Fair enough. My guys, and can I ask you guys something? If in a vacuum, would you rather have DeAndre Hopkins or Mike Evans?
Mike Evans.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Mike Evans.
What do you think, Josh?
Man, that's tough. It's tough. It requires you to project Deshaun Watson over a career. I think we have a pretty good handle on what Jameis Winston is and will be. And then if you think Deshaun Watson is 70% of what he was last year, then I think you call it a tie.
Okay.
If you think Deshaun Watson projects to 75, 80, whatever percent, which is, I mean, that's like, you're talking about like QB2 numbers there, then I think you got to say it's Nuke. But based on body of work so far, based on, let's say, collection of offensive personnel, if you're looking at, let's say, a 3-year window, I think you got to say it's Mike Evans. I think if you're looking 5-6 year window, then you might want to say Nuke.
Okay. I guess the reason I asked that because if I'm Brandon, you said I can pick any two. I'm probably taking DeAndre Hopkins because I think that not just the volume, but the player that he is, a guy who literally catches just about everything, as well as the fact that even when he's covered, he's still open. I really, really, really like him as a receiver. And in a dream scenario, it's a Josh's point. If I'm kicking the can on running back at all, I would like to hope, and this is just more of a hope thing for me, I would really hope Amari Cooper makes it down to 24. And I just remember loving Amari Cooper coming out. And I remember thinking that he could be awesome. And his first couple years have scared me so much. I don't know how I feel about him anymore. But I think it would probably be someone like him. Who else can I get at the bottom of the second? CMC is a guy I don't want to copy Gabe, but he's definitely there.
Are you talking about running back or wide receiver? Or
just
anything?
Anything. Because even a guy like Devonta Freeman, and I know Gabe hates him, but I love Devonta Freeman. I think he's awesome. And he is 26 years old, so he's probably got a few more years left. And of course, they extended him a couple years back. I love Devonta Freeman so much as a player. I think I don't think there's anything that he cannot do on the football field. So yeah, I think those are my two. I'll go DeAndre and I'll go Devonta Freeman because I love Freeman as a player.
I like those picks. Those are two league-winning picks right there.
Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen.
Oh, Keenan Allen, man.
Is he lasting that late? Oh, yeah, I guess the running backs are pushing him down the board now.
He's 12 right now. According to April's
12 overall.
Data. Yeah, 12 overall behind Kamara, Thomas, and David Johnson.
Man, that's a pretty rosy outlook, I think. I think that's I like Keenan Allen. I think he's kind of living off of that hot streak he had mid to late last year. I mean, that's making him look so much better than he probably will be on the aggregate this year. I think it's a steep price to pay for Keenan Allen, especially considering you have to think of whether Phillip Rivers is going to play 3 years or not, right? In a startup. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I'm trying to look at a 3-year window. So if I think Rivers plays 3 more seasons, I don't think he does. But if he does, then yeah, maybe you justify Keenan Allen there. But otherwise, I think you have to temper your expectations. I don't think Cardale Jones can give him the ball like Phillip Rivers does. And then they drafted – who did they draft this year? I can't remember off the top of my head. Now I got to look. Shame on me.
Or the Chargers?
I thought they drafted a quarterback, even though it's showing
Wouldn't it if it was, got to be late.
the most elite quarterback of all time. Geno Smith. Geno Smith backing up Phillip Rivers. It is 2018, fellas. We have arrived.
That's where we are.
Man, I don't know. That scares me about Keenan Allen. I'll wrap that up. That scares me about Keenan Allen on a 3-year window.
Man, the two guys that I would build around are two guys that are just a common theme on most of my teams, and I love this. And I'm kind of zigging where a lot of people zag. I used to draft, what you would call the UTH way, where I would go receiver, 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 and just punt running back and figure that out. But as the tides have kind of changed, I'm investing big in these young receiver or running backs. So my first round player that I would target that is going for a steal is David Johnson. Talk about a league winner, a workhorse, a guy who just had the best fantasy season that we've seen since LaDainian Tomlinson. He's got almost no tread on the tires. He has less carries than Zeke Elliott in his career. So he's a hard worker. He's going to last a long time in the NFL. So he's a guy I would build my team around. And then in the second round, this might shock some of you guys. He actually might be a third round guy. I'm not sure, but he's my dynasty RB6 is Joe Mixon. If you asked me who's that guy that isn't in the top 5 running backs, the DJ, Le'Veon Bell, Zeke, Saquon, Todd Gurley tier, I think Joe Mixon can make that leap into that conversation because he's that talented. He's everything you want in a bell cow. And now Cincinnati's finally investing in the offensive line again. They brought in like 3 new starters already. So David Johnson, Joe Mixon are 2 young stud workhorse running backs that I'd build a team around and try to win some championships.
I tell you what, man, Brandon, I want to hug the shit out of that David Johnson pick because I feel that. In a startup, if I'm going to go running back at the 101, I'm going to take David Johnson. I'm not going to take Saquon Barkley. And the reason I say that is because David Johnson has a body of work in the NFL already. We know how elite he is in the pros. We don't know Saquon Barkley yet. He's an unknown. I think that requires a tax that knocks him down a little bit. So give me 2 years of David Johnson's production plus let's say a redshirt year that we just saw, and I'll take that every day over Saquon Barkley. And plug him into an offense with what we feel is a relatively sharp young offensive mind, and also with Josh Rosen, and also with Larry Fitzgerald, and also with Christian Kirk, who we have some pretty high hopes for. And Brandon, you're not such a homer anymore for the Cards. It actually makes some sense, right?
Thank you.
And I would say of the elite running backs, like the guys that we are bona fide know they are elite, I think David Johnson is the 101 of that group. So I like that. Good call. Joe Mixon, would temper those expectations. I like his talent. I'm concerned about his landing spot, to be honest. I'm concerned about his offense.
What specifically about the offense concerns you?
Marvin Lewis.
Yes. Okay, J. Mike hit it on the head.
Reporting live from Cincinnati, Ohio.
It is.
Marvin Lewis. Yes. And I'm out.
Yeah. J. Mike knows better than anybody. Organizational cancer, right? That entire team is cancerous. And it starts at the top, Mike Brown. It starts at the top and it's just festered all the way down over decades. And now Marvin Lewis just continues to steer the Exxon Valdez into the rocks over and over again. And until that plague is removed from that franchise, it will be difficult to project really sunny days for them. Like they had an opportunity this year to take Lamar Jackson and they opted out. And to me, that was the move they should have made in the first round, was take Lamar Jackson. Don't take a flipping center. Take Lamar Jackson and ensure the stability of your franchise going forward. And instead, they did the safe thing. And that's what Cincinnati does. So until Cincinnati makes some of these, makes some of these decisions that improve the franchise on the whole, and maybe get a coach in there that gives a shit about winning and optimizing his talent, playing rookies. And I have a hard time projecting Mixon to be all that dominant of a productive back. I like him. I just hate his situation.
And Brandon, I think that it's fair to expect a step forward for Cincinnati's offense, because I think that he'll get a bigger workload. I think that the offense will be better on the whole. The thing that's weird is Cincinnati hasn't done a great job of making sure that they showcase their really good players, particularly like when they have really good running backs in tandem. Because Gio Bernard, he's still a really good player. I'm not sure how they're going to do those carries in terms of balancing those out. And I think Gio's coming up on either his last year, this year, or next year. But then they just picked up Mark Walton late. It almost seems like he'll be filling in Gio's role once he's gone. So I don't know when Joe Mixon becomes the 3-down consistent. If he does, great. I think it'll be rosy for him sooner rather than later. I don't know. I don't know how they work them in tandem and how that looks going forward for Mixon. I think certainly he'll take a step forward. I think Cincinnati's group will take a step forward. I don't know if it'll be that big of a jump though, that we would anticipate for him.
Don't forget about John Ross.
Oh shit, they're going to give him 15% of the carries, aren't they? They're going to run an all jet sweep offense in the red zone. Take the league by storm.
Then he'll fumble his first carry, and they won't put him on the field the rest of the season.
So sad. It's so sad.
Marvin Lewis, how is he a NFL coach for the Cincinnati Bengals? 16 years.
And on his 16th birthday, you found out it wasn't his?
Yep. Still not.
I'd say this, that I grew up a Dallas fan. I was a Dallas fan for 35 years until I washed my hands of their dumbasses. And that franchise in its current embodiment has a lot of parallels with the Bengals. And I say that because they have the meddling owner that likes to have his fingers in everything. They stay committed to antiquated approaches that we feel, at least in the analytics community, are pretty confident that they don't work anymore, but they still do it. Like they run on every single first down. That's Dallas. I don't know about Cincinnati so much, but that's why Marvin Lewis is still a coach in the league, because his franchise is committed to status quo. And they know that they have their fan base basically stuck, right? If you want to watch football, then hey, we got Cincinnati's Bengals football, and we're still rocking like it's the 1970s, even though the game passed us by 40 years ago. And it's really frustrating to see NFL franchises do this to their fans, because J-Mike, I'm sure you've been a fan your whole life of the Bengals, I'm guessing.
No, not at all, but that's okay.
Okay. Good for you. Good for you, because I was going to come and try to talk you off the ledge and say, don't be a fan of that team anymore, dude. So
shout out to Dwight Peoples in the chat, who actually is a Bengals fan, but go ahead. Sorry.
You poor souls, man. I feel so bad for you guys. Y'all are so fucked. No, but that said, that's why Marvin Lewis is still coach 16 years later, because the franchise doesn't give a shit. Like their revenue's guaranteed. Yeah. All they have to do is put the lowest cost product out on the field and count their dollars at the end of the season. And that's all they care about. And until they care about more than that, you won't see anything change.
He's the second longest active coach right now. As far as years go, that just behind Belichick, of course. And behind next is like Tomlin, Peyton, Harbaugh kind of range. So, and all those other three are doing just fine. Belichick, obviously, but like, where does he fit in? It's so weird. It's a 500 coach, and he's been around for 16 years. It's fascinating to me.
It's just gonna keep going. And
are they Browns fucked, Josh? Are they Browns fucked?
Oh, he's gone.
He
I
gone.
think he stepped
He
away.
gone.
Oh, Josh is gone.
No, I think it starts with obviously their coach, but Andy Dalton too. Andy Dalton reminds me a lot of Chicago Bears with Jay Cutler. They were trapped in the state of mediocrity because he was good enough. A lot of quarterbacks get paid and get these huge extensions because they're good enough to be on a team, be on a roster, and you say, well, it could always be worse. You can do worse than Andy Dalton. But he's proven. He's just never going to get it done. He's got all the talent in the world around him. This year, if he doesn't show a glimpse of something special, he's just going to be, a Flacco career backup, next year forward. They got to
say he's Flacco-esque. I mean,
yeah.
He seems like with the right people around him, he could probably get to one Super Bowl.
If he had a
tight defense, essentially, a good defense, and they've never really had that.
So let me ask this: with since we're kind of looking at the life and times of the Cincinnati Bengals, what are we doing with AJ Green at this point? If you have shares of him, are you keeping? Are we keeping hold of him? Are we trying to get what we can for him? What is it to do at this point with AJ?
I mean, just look at guys like AJ Green who are elite. They don't fall off the map. I mean, they don't. I mean, I think in Dynasty, people want to get out before the cliff happens. I don't really think that happens with elite wide receivers. And you look at, like Josh was talking about Julio earlier. I mean, maybe a little bit different of a conversation because of the injury history and everything that Julio has. But you wants to play. Will his price go down? Yeah, a little bit. But you look at these guys who are elite options, and as long as they don't dez themselves out of the league in terms of making everybody hate them, they still can be productive into their early 30s. And if you're trying to get out now, I think you're leaving value on the table. And at some point, if you're selling at a discount on an AJ Green, because I think AJ Green and Julio are actually acquirable in existing leagues when you're trying to trade for them. I think their price is actually easier to get in existing leagues because of that exactly than in startups. And that's attractive when you're looking at a guy who's, has the track record of production that he has, and the target share that he should continue to keep.
Yeah, I was just looking at his age, just short of 30, and everyone's afraid of that 30 point. And he will be 30 by the start of the season. Yes. I mean, whatever. I don't care, but he'll be 30 at some point in his life, and so will Julio Jones, and so will Demaryius Thomas, and so will Emmanuel Sanders, right? But I agree with you in that he's part of this elite group. I mean, you just can't, and because of that, use that to your advantage and go and buy the dude.
What are we saying, Brandon?
Right. I was going to say, I'm curious. All you guys, give me one name. Give me one name of a player. I know people you're playing in leagues with might be listening, but give me one player that you're trying to get on the cheap or on the down low that you think is way better than the respect he's getting. So I'll just kick it off. Mine is Marvin Jones from the Lions. I think he was the wide receiver 12 last year, and you would think that this guy can't ball. I think he can ball, and Matt Stafford is one of those quarterbacks who takes time to develop chemistry with a player, but once he does, it can be something cool. And last year you saw Stafford and Marvin Jones develop something special, and I think that's going to carry forward. I'm up on Stafford as well, but Marvin Jones would be my guy that is way better than where he's getting drafted.
That's a good one.
He's such a good fit for what Stafford can do. He's the perfect receiver to match Stafford's skill set, because Stafford will just throw those. I watch all the Detroit Lions games for Football Guys. I write the Detroit Lions recaps on Football Guys, and every week, he would just burn cover two defenses with just throwing these darts in to Marvin Jones, and it's the perfect fit for them. That's a great call.
Another dude getting up there.
Was he 28?
Yeah.
and good call from Peter. Peter Howard again. He says wide receivers' most productive seasons are between the age of 27 and 31. So right in the sweet spot there.
It's typically around that 27, 28, but I mean doesn't mean they necessarily drop off. They're still relevant for a couple years thereafter.
Well, I'm not saying he's not Gabe. I'm just saying what Peter said.
I wasn't coming at you.
Oh my gosh.
I was with you. I was right here with you. I looked over and I was like, yeah, bro, this is what I agree with of your statement. And then you come at me with that fire. You all right?
I'm great, man. I'm great.
No allergies kicking your ass.
They are. They really are. Wiping my nose the whole episode, looking like a old person. Oh gosh.
What are we doing right now? We're picking a guy that we think's good and undervalued.
Pick a guy who's undervalued, who's being drafted way later, and you think he's better than what the rest of the dynasty world does.
Well, Kenny Galladay's going higher than Marvin Jones, right?
Is he? No.
That's sick.
If he is, I will cry laughing.
Look it up.
Oh man.
I don't know.
That is just sick.
Marvin Jones is going at 59 overall.
59. Erroneous.
Still looking. Oh, Kenny Galladay's 92. So no,
Oh,
not close.
That's way too low for Marvin Jones. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I feel like all the guys that I look at aren't really on the low. And before his landing spot to the Chiefs, I'm as big a Sammy Watkins truther as there is.
That's a good one.
But he's kind of, I think he's getting a lot of buzz, which I have a follow-up question after everyone answers Brandon's question, but I do want to touch on that real fast.
I realize my fucking microphone has been on mute for like 3 minutes, and I've been over here talking and like asking questions. I'm just like, these sons of bitches are ignoring me. I went to take a leak and they're closing me out, and I'm just like, God damn it. No, but now I realize I'm just a dumbass, and that's really kind of what boils down to at the end of the day is you guys are talking to a classified moron. But
we're not as big a jerks as you thought we were.
No, you guys are awesome. The fact that you let me sit here and talk into the mic on video and nobody said a damn word, I would have done the same thing. So kudos to you guys for kicking me in the nuts remotely. I like that. No, my question was, I want to hit Marvin Jones for a second because I think that's a fantastic pick.
Yeah, that's the best one. That's so
what wide receiver is he right now? I'm guessing he's probably like wide receiver 18 or so at an ADP of 59.
Give me 1 sec. He's coming up as wide receiver. Oh boy, wide receiver 29.
yeah,
Dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's sick.
So in front of him, so directly in front of him, Cortland Sutton, Cooper Kupp,
Hey!
Des Bryant, who does not have a team, Devin Funchess, Demaryius Thomas.
Hey!
So, those are all in front of Marvin Jones.
Okay, these drafts must be fraudulent. That's all I can say. Are there money on these leagues? There really needs to be some money on these leagues.
You have to pay for that ADP, right?
No, that's crazy. Wide receiver 29. What the fuck is he wide receiver 29? That's a great pick. I'm kind of in the same vein as you, Brandon. My guy is Emmanuel Sanders, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
I like him. He's probably closer to like wide receiver 50 right now. I'm guessing on Dynasty ADP without looking. He's probably a lot lower.
Wide receiver 54.
Yep. I mean, dude, he's going to be the number one wide receiver in his offense this year with a competent quarterback. And
Emphasis on competent. That's very,
competent.
Very good.
Hey, in Denver, man, you're talking that's elite quarterbacking is competent, right? Yep. So to me, it's like Emmanuel Sanders for 2018, and I'm looking at 3-year windows for Dynasty, but for 2018, he is Adam Thielen for this season. He's going to play the same role. He's going to play with the same quarterback. And that team is going to be so much better on offense than they were last year. I mean, he is a legitimate wide receiver 1 candidate. Legitimate. Even with Demaryius Thomas running next to him. So for him to be wide receiver 54 right now, it's just you should go buy him everywhere that you possibly can at that price.
Love that.
That's a good one.
Who else you guys got?
I have a better one. I'm sorry. I'll throw this out. And Jordan, you can go. Ty Montgomery. Ty Mo is currently going as running back 47. And maybe he's not the full-time running back there, but I still think that he's a piece of that Green Bay offense.
He might.
And I still think he's going to be dynasty relevant. What do you say?
I said he might even switch back over if they're comfortable with Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. I mean, I think they were both pretty competent. And I mean,
I don't think it's a guarantee that he's not the RB1.
Right. What I'm saying is like his range of outcomes super wide in terms of how he's used. But I still think that he's
on
relevant
either spectrum,
no
whether
matter
it's a running
what.
back or wide receiver, really, in my opinion.
Right. And you're saying running back 47 behind Devontae Booker, behind Kalen Ballage, CJ Anderson, Marlon Mack, Chris Carson, John Kelly. Like, seriously?
That's a good.
And he's only 20 foot? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, I think that whole Green Bay backfield is very interesting. But I mean, you look at for when Montgomery played, he had some elite weeks early on last season. But they tend to ride one running back. But I guess my pick will be Lamar Miller. I think he's got no one gives him any respect. But during the 5 games where Deshaun Watson went on an absolute tear last year, their running backs averaged 16. Their running backs were on pace for 1,600 rushing yards and 22 rushing touchdowns. Deonta Foreman is coming off. I think it was an Achilles. It's an Achilles or a patella. That just is not an injury that running backs have historically recovered from. It happened in the middle of the season. I don't expect him to be back early in the season. And you're going to they didn't do anything to really address the position in the offseason. I think Lamar, he's got sneaky upside to finish in like the top 6 of running backs this year. If Deshaun Watson can stay healthy and Foreman's not there, like he could be a league winner. And people aren't even, I don't know what his ADP is, but it's got to be outside of running back like 25.
So can you run me through the pencil math that gets him to a top 6 running back? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If he is going to get, 1,200, if he can get 1,200 yards and 10 plus touchdowns, I mean, that's in the conversation. It probably takes someone falling off. I mean, does Hunt come back to the pack? Does Kamara do a whole year like he did last year? I mean, there's some fluctuations in there, and I don't really think the difference between 12 and 6 is all that huge. I mean, but I could see that in that range, and no one has the respect for him because I think it's his backfield almost entirely.
That's a good one. I like that.
I think he's certainly a buy value. I think he's a very good buy value right now. I think RB6, I have some reservations about that. I think RB12 and above, I think that's certainly in the wheelhouse. I'll have to my gears are spinning right now. I'm thinking of the RB6 scenario and how many touches that's going to take and what has to transpire. But I'm not saying it's
and
not
800 running backs in front of him.
At some point, Alfred Blue's going to get a 35-touch game. We know that's going to happen.
But so I mean, you look at his last year. He had, by my pencil math, I think he had 274 touches.
Oh shit! Brandon's getting in bed.
Come on, show us Kirk.
Wait! When did this turn into Tinder? Swipe right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jordan. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. We all got distracted there. I mean, that was some fascinating stuff. Yeah, I mean,
he looks like a cologne ad.
All you're missing is like a velvet couch. Yeah, it's like
and kissy face.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I see 274 touches. I mean, his yards per carry were low, but I mean, you look at what he did in the in the span of which Watson was in there, I mean, he had high level production. Just trying to identify. I mean, he had a 29-point week. He had 2 double-digit weeks, and then he had a 22-point week. I think it looks like it averages at about, somewhere in the high teens. I mean, that's in that range. And, I mean, he is a player that no one's talking about because the hot streak was in the middle of the season.
No, I like that. I think thinking through the game script scenario that's going to make that possible, I think they're going to have to be like an 8-18 for that to happen. If they're sitting on leads in games, it's good. I think it will be Alfred Blue or Deontay Foreman icing those games in the fourth quarter. If they're getting blown out, it's quite possible it's Alfred Blue or Deontay Foreman soaking up garbage time. So I think they need to be in a competitive situation throughout the entire season for Lamar Miller to hit that touch threshold. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm working through the scenario that gets Lamar Miller to that point. And I think that's kind of how it has to transpire this season. They have to be kind of within a touchdown almost all game, every game, for Lamar Miller to see that touch volume. But it's possible for sure.
So was on that 5-game stretch, I know that he scored a lot of fantasy points, and maybe that's kind of all that matters, I suppose. But did he was he actually good at football?
Hey, I'll ride Deshaun Watson's coattails. I don't really care. I mean, I don't need to win on a theoretical basis. I'll win on a statistical basis. That's fine. If he's scoring more points than than players that are better than him, that's fine by me. I don't really care.
I know, and that's what I agree with you. That's entirely just that it might not even really matter if he's scoring fantasy points. Who cares? But maybe eventually the Texans are not appreciative of his 3.2 yards per carry or whatever, and turn to Foreman or Josh's boy Alfred Blue.
To your point,
I mean, I could see that. I don't think that. I think depending on Foreman this year is a mistake. I just think depending on Foreman, if I can get out of Foreman at the cost I bought him at, I'm doing it. Just the injury, it's just a concern.
This is weird, yeah.
Yeah, and it almost feels like Lamar Miller has to have that outlier touchdown season, which is possible, especially if Deshaun Watson's the quarterback for the full season. And I'm with you there, Jordan. Freeman is Donta Foreman, not Devonta Freeman. Donta Foreman.
They're practically the same guy, right?
Stop it. Right. Stop
it.
The slander and the disrespect right now.
I'm just trying to compliment Deontay Foreman, really.
Oh my gosh. Gabe, I'm officially done.
Right. Gabe, who's your sleeper? Who's your sleeper, Gabe?
I've been trying to find one, really. I went through Lamar Miller and I just couldn't pull the trigger. Certainly thought of Tymo, even a little bit of love for Randall Cobb, just because Aaron Rodgers can have 2 top 24 wide receivers. It's certainly within his wheelhouse.
That's a good one.
But kind of maybe riskier, but his ADP seems to have not really changed over the last few years, and reasonably so, but that it was a bit lower. But the situation seems to be a bit better now that 110, 20 targets are gone in Devontae Parker. I mean, where J Mike, you're gonna have to tell me where he is on ADP, because I'm completely guessing that he's probably top 50, 60.
Devontae Parker among receivers
overall and both, whatever.
That's a great one,
Gabe. I was saying overall when I said top 50.
Now that Landry's gone, that's a great one.
But yeah, I mean, the targets are king. Not all the time, but a lot of the time it certainly helps to get the ball thrown your way. I don't think he's necessarily done anything to make it seem like we should fade him at all. I think that there was a bit of recency bias coming off of that 2014 draft class that people, then vaulted the 2015 draft class and that they were all of a sudden these gods, and maybe they just haven't moved into their place yet. A lot of guys in that draft class haven't, even, Amari Cooper.
Devonta Parker, overall 67, wide receiver 33.
That is incredibly high, in my opinion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not the wide receiver one in that offense. It's Kenny Stills.
The takes.
Kenny Stills is the target leader with Jarvis Landry gone. That's Kenny Stills, the slot man. To me, I'm not saying Devontae Parker's a bad player, but Devontae Parker is a guy that the organization and the press in Miami has been trying to coach and draw into relevance over 2 seasons now, 3 seasons. And if it hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen in Miami. I don't know, man. Give me the guy that's already been productive there. Give me Kenny Stills. I think he's the wide receiver one.
Whew.
I think that's an overpay for Devontae Parker.
A top 35 wide receiver. He can be your wide receiver 3 or 4, and dependent on what kind of style you're playing, if you're going on Brandon style, he might be your wide receiver 6.
I'd rather wait 7 rounds and get Kenny Stills.
Kenny Stills, wide receiver 59.
That's just me.
Hey, Josh, I just did the numbers on Lamar Miller. In the 5-game stretch in which Deshaun Watson went crazy, he was on pace for 1,392 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 48 catches. That would have given him 283.2 yards. It would have finished him as running back 7 last year.
Come on.
That's awesome.
Man.
So now all they have to do is score 40 points a game every game. But yeah, I mean, it's in the wheelhouse, right? It's within the normal distribution of outcomes for him. And I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just like you got to really hit the top of it to make it work, I think. But that said, you've already talked about how it can happen, right, over a 5-game span. So we talk about it there. Then, yeah, it's certainly possible.
Who do you guys think is the next Deshaun Watson of this year's rookie quarterbacks? Who comes in and blasts on the scene and succeeds?
That's the question.
Right away.
Who's even going to play as a rookie?
I think they're all going to play. I don't have the statistics to back it up, but I know that I've seen ones that every rookie that's been drafted in the first round since Aaron Rodgers has started at least 1 game.
Wow.
In the rookie year.
Wow. Okay.
I think that was Mike Clay or somebody said that every rookie that's been drafted has gotten a chance at some point.
I think I would put it between Darnold or Josh Allen to play first. And I'd lean heavily on Darnold, but I don't think McCarron's going to be that dude. I would be surprised if he played more than 8 games. But I think Darnold will get in quickly. I think it's going to be a QB competition to start off the year and be that whole confusing Jets blah. And hopefully I think he's ready more than most. They should throw him in there.
Speaking of not making it through the season, Josh Rosen for Sam Bradford. Sheesh.
True. So Rosen will be in the fourth quarter into the fourth quarter of that first game, whatever.
That's a good team too. I think Watson succeeded the way he did because he had 2 first-round receivers, pretty solid deep. Like he just had a good cast around him where most guys like Josh Allen and Darnold, like you brought up, I think they'll play first, but they're going to be like Trubisky was in his rookie year where they just don't have anything around them to make it work. So do you guys think Mayfield or Rosen, I think it's fair to say they have the best teams around them? Do you think either of those guys are going to matter in a big way as rookies?
I think Rosen will. I think Rosen has an opportunity to win the job outright in camp.
See, well, that's the only thing. I don't agree with that because I still think that Sam Bradford is a good player.
Can they protect him?
Maybe he can, Josh. Maybe he can.
Yeah, right. I mean, Bradford can be super productive. I agree with that. The question is, can they protect him? I don't think they can protect him.
Yep.
And then I'm surprised nobody's brought up Lamar Jackson yet. I think Lamar Jackson's in the best situation of all the rookie quarterbacks. I think he has the best team around him. I think he's in the best coaching situation from a, let's say, a coordinator standpoint. Guys that have coached dual threat, if you will, quarterbacks, even though Lamar Jackson is a passer.
But to Josh's point, I mean, to Brandon's point, I think he's talking about who's going to come on the scene in year one. You think Lamar will play year one?
I think that the question I always ask myself when I think about this is what team is going to be really shitty record-wise, right?
That's a good way to do it.
I mean, because that's how we don't want to talk about injury, right? We don't want to wish that on anybody. So, okay, well, who's going to be 3-7 to open the season and looking for a spark? It could be Baltimore. I don't think it'll be Baltimore, but it could be Baltimore. I mean, I think it really could be Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona could be trash. It's possible.
Everybody claims Buffalo will be trash, but they worked some magic with their trash last year.
Yeah.
They really did. Kind of like the Jets. Trash. The Jets worked a lot of magic with trash last year. Allegedly. I don't think the Jets had trash. I think I'll say this, low key, the Jets had an awesome plan last year in that they got a very competent quarterback in McCown. They ran an air raid offense that was simple to operate, but effective in maintaining possession and migrating the ball downfield just enough to get some points. And they played a lot better defense because they have an excellent defensive coach at the helm. So if we look at the teams that have the rookie quarterbacks and we think about the team that's going to have the shittiest record at midseason, who's it going to be? I don't know. I think it could be Baltimore. I think it could be Buffalo, and I think it could be Arizona.
Yeah.
Who do you got, Jordan?
God, it pains me that Josh Allen's in this conversation as a Bills fan. I want to say Mayfield because I think their offensive skill position talent rivals anyone in the NFL. But I think that they could be in the playoff conversation in the season. I think that they have some talent. And as long as they take all the decision-making power away from Hugh Jackson, I think they actually have a team that could be interesting into October. So if he got the opportunity, I think he can play. But I think Tyrod is competent. So I would say I think Rosen's probably got the best chance to start this year. And I think that he's probably the guy that has I would say the most top heavy of offense, and I think that he's got the best opportunity to be good this year.
That's what's up. One thing that is being tossed about in the chat here, and this is kind of what I wanted to hit on. There? Yeah, people are still in the chat. It's still popping. So shouts to everyone in the chat. Dwight Peoples came and joined us. Zach's here from the Dummies. And we might have to get out of here on this one. I don't know how we are on time, but
I don't even know what time it is.
Yeah, we're running up on 2 hours, so we probably got to go. Not that it has to, but I don't want people to be like, dude, I'm never going on open bar again because this was a marathon and I wasn't ready for it. With the Kansas City Chiefs offense, and this is for all of you guys, in a super flex league, which skill player would you most want to have? Let's say it's super flex. Let's say it's tight end premium. Let's say it's quarter point per carry. It's point per reception. Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, or Pat Mahomes. Who would you most likely want on your team out of those five guys?
Kareem Hunt. I think Kareem Hunt because Tyreek and Kelce will be competing with each other on a weekly basis. I think Tyreek's the biggest loser, to be honest. He's still going to do what he does with big play-wise, but you just can't bank on that consistently. So Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, in that order.
Are we talking about Kansas City Chiefs right now? The last person I heard was Kareem Hunt, so are we talking about the best player?
Yep.
Okay. I love Kareem Hunt, man. That's my boy. I'm sorry. I started getting stressed out because Jacob texted me. Okay. But legitimately, what are we talking about?
I think the answer probably for you is going to be Kareem Hunt.
Okay.
Which Kansas City skill position player do you want on your team?
At price, I would take honestly Sammy Watkins. What's the fifth? Oh, Mahomes.
Yeah.
In Superflex, where's he at in ADP for Superflex? He's like probably a top 10, 8 guy or something. Too expensive.
I don't have Superflex ADP. I can look up what he is at quarterback though.
I wouldn't care in a 1 QB league. I wouldn't touch him. But I think
people play 1
QB
leagues. I didn't know.
I know.
Okay.
And well, if you can, that's great. But just don't care about Patrick Mahomes. I think for a price point, I would go for Sammy because he's probably the cheapest of the 4 that aren't Mahomes. And as far as the skill guy, even though he's way too expensive and I wouldn't pay for it, I might sell him, but because he's my boy. But Kareem Hunt, man, dude.
Okay.
Would we get on Mahomes' ADP at quarterback?
QB 11.
That's startup. That's startup ADP.
How spicy is that?
So ridiculous.
QB 11 in April 2018 startup mocks.
Boy, there's a lot of hope attached to that.
I don't get that because like he has a great year, cool, but then he like moves up to QB like 6 or 7.
So here's the thing. Of the 6 mocks that they've done for April, he's gone as high as 93 and as low as 144 overall.
No.
So food for thought there.
I ain't hungry.
Pass the plate, bro. Pass the plate.
Yeah, I got a question. Wait, but let's work through the Chiefs conundrum first, and then I want to hit back with a question.
Okay.
Great,
got,
we have
Jordan?
all the time in the world.
I don't know who it's going to be on a weekly basis, but I know it's going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be Mahomes. So give me Mahomes.
Okay. What do you say, Josh?
I kind of like that Mahomes answer because he's driving the ship. But you said it was tight end premium, point per
all
point
the
per carry?
all the special bonuses that people are throwing in leagues nowadays.
Yeah, I know,
Start
right?
2 tight ends.
I mean, that's an Andy Reid offense. Give me Kareem Hunt.
Okay. And nobody goes with Tyreek. I just found it interesting. Not to say that you should. I just find it interesting because he's going right now as wide receiver 11. So
I'd rather have Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, that's expensive for a team that just paid big money to Sammy Watkins, right?
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising that there's not more uncertainty baked into his ADP at the moment.
Hey, while you're on that, what's Stafford's ADP? Is he? He's got to be behind Mahomes, right?
Let me go back to quarterbacks. Yeah.
The show
Stafford
is now
was
just asking J Mike what ADP is on players.
He's probably like
well,
QB
actually no.
14
Stafford's
or 15.
Right before. No, he's right before Mahomes. He's number 10.
Oh wow.
All right.
Disrespect.
So
Wow.
so behind Mahomes, just to give you an idea, behind Mahomes, Kirk Cousins at 12, Dak Prescott at 13, Jameis at 14, Tom Brady at 15.
Wait, Tom Brady's at 15?
Tom Brady's at 15.
Wow.
Why?
I don't make the rules. I'm just
No, I know,
reading.
man. I know. I'm not blaming you, J Mike. I mean, I know it's not your fault.
J Mike, stop.
You brought me on here specifically to put me on tilt.
What's your question, Josh?
All right. So my question is, would you rather have Mahomes or Trubisky right now?
Truth.
True chains.
I think Mahomes has
Mahomes.
better weapons. I do think he has better weapons. I think Trubisky's a better player, and I also believe in what Chicago did. They got an awesome head coach, the best guy possible, and they got Allen Robinson. They got new linemen. They got another 2 or 3 weapons in Trey Burton. Anthony Miller. So the Chicago Bears are a completely new team. I think Trubisky's going to take a monster step forward, and I believe in the player.
I think I'm with you, Jordan.
Isn't like Chicago in every way a poor man's Kansas City? Like everything they did is like attempting to beat Kansas City, but not as good. Give me Mahomes.
Hey, Jordan, let's do something fun. Let's make an open bar bet.
Yes.
Let's do. I'll take Trubisky. You have Mahomes. Let's do fantasy points this season from week 1 to week 16. Would you take that bet?
Would I take Mahomes over Trubisky?
Yeah.
I'll take Mahomes over Trubisky.
All right. What do you want to bet? What's the stakes?
Yeah.
You tell me. I'm not good at these things.
The heat is on. The heat is on.
Any suggestions from the non-stakers?
Hey, chat, we need you now.
While we're at it, we need to, not to interrupt your bet, we can consider the stakes for y'all, but I have a bit of a beef between Stills and Devontae Parker.
Ooh, that's a good bet too. You guys should make that bet.
I'm down for that.
I'll give you as many points as you want. Wait, hold on.
Hey, bro.
Someone needs to come in here and take me to bed.
You want Devontae Parker to come take you to bed right now?
Well, it's not going to be Christian Kirk. I know that much.
Guys, I haven't been wearing pants this whole pod since we talked about this.
Who's ready to get weird? Who's ready to get weird?
Spoken like a true cologne model.
After hours. Very good.
Jake said bottle of cologne.
Yeah, man, I'm down to do a Stills and Parker bet. I'll do something on that.
I mean, I don't know because I know they are drastically different as far as where they're taken. I don't know. Go look at Mike Clay's projections, and then I'll give you that handicap or something.
Maybe we'll have to put this out on Twitter.
If I look at Mike Clay's projections, I'll be handicapped. That's messed up, dude. Why would anybody do that? That's cold.
Like Mike said, man, I don't make the rules.
No, man, I'll put a couple beers on that for sure.
Right. Hey, we a couple Karbach beers.
Yeah. I'll put some suds on that in person. I'll pay that bet in person if I lose it. No problem. I will travel my ass to Austin and pay that off.
There we go.
This is great.
All right,
2 open bar bets in one night, and I'm writing it down so we don't forget this one, Gabe.
That's good. Yeah, I'm glad we have a historian. We need one.
I probably lost so many bets, J. Mike. I'm glad we don't write this. So I guess you two have to come meet up in Austin for the beers, for your stakes on your bet, Trubisky and Mahomes. So.
Well, we'll have to think of something, Jordan. If you come up with anything, we'll just tweet it out.
Oh yeah, I'll meet you at the Senior Bowl. We'll buy beers at the Senior Bowl.
Ooh.
Where's the Senior Bowl? Is that Alabama?
Mobile, Alabama. It's fun if you've never been.
Jordan, I don't know what kind of senior picture you have, but I think Brandon, you need to involve that somehow.
Oh God,
my senior picture's a disaster.
Perfect.
Let's see it.
I'd have to dig it up someplace. It's in a yearbook way buried away in the storage of my house.
Yeah.
I keep mine in my wallet. No, I'm just kidding. I got it.
You mean in Christian Kirk's wallet?
Here. I'll age myself real quick. Check that out.
What?
Oh my!
That's pretty good.
94.
Talk more. So it's big screen.
Oh yeah. Let me see if I can talk more and make that bigger for everybody.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
Oh yeah, man. That was that was a long ago. Yes, I am wearing a disco shirt in that picture.
Wow.
That chain, though.
I know, man.
Oh, God.
All right.
The real 2 chains. The first 2 chains.
Blue chains.
All right, Gabe, take us home, man.
You done, J Mike?
I can't hardly breathe. I can't hardly
I thought
talk.
Josh had a question. Or did Josh?
Oh yeah, Josh, you had a
the
question.
Yeah, well, I already asked my question. We had the Trubisky Mahomes conundrum.
Oh, was that what it was?
It sounds like a new Bourne movie, but they call it the Trubisky Mahomes conundrum. So no, but the point for me, the thing for me, I think about Trubisky and Mahomes is what happens if Chicago doesn't suck ass the last 2 years under John Fox? What happens if they're threatening for a playoff spot last year, and then Trubisky steps in at the end of the season in Week 17 and lights it up? Are we thinking about him as QB 25 anymore, or is he QB 12? Is he QB 11 like Mahomes is right now? I think perception really weighs on these guys right now, and I think they're more in the middle. I think both these guys probably deserve to be around QB, let's say QB 16, QB 18, instead of where they're being positioned right now. I think they're pretty neck and neck. And looking at the numbers on Andy Reid quarterbacks, historically, they rarely throw for more than 4,000 yards. So if we put that historical perspective on Mahomes, and this is Andy Reid that's had Donovan McNabb,
right?
He's had Alex Smith, some very productive quarterbacks, and we put that on Mahomes, and we say, okay, well, maybe Mahomes' ceiling is 4,200 yards. If Kansas City sucks and they have to throw all the time, is he really going to score all that many PPR points? Is he really going to run that much? So I'm trying to look at Mahomes from that perspective. I'm excited for him, but I'm also trying to temper my enthusiasm based on what Andy Reid has done in the past, what he's told us already with very productive quarterbacks. And then I look at Trubisky, and Trubisky's in, I think, the same situation. He's going to be on a team with a better defense. And I think he has similar weapons on offense. And I think he may have an even better play caller at the helm this year. And a play caller that teams may not expect as much out of as they would expect out of Andy Reid. They've got a lot of film on Andy Reid. They don't have as much film on I can't remember his name now, but
Nagy.
Nagy. Thank you, Matt Nagy. And then they also hired Mark Helfrich from Oregon. So they've got enough. I think they have more offensive pizzazz than Kansas City has right now. And for that reason, I would take Trubisky in that argument all day long, especially at his price. But I see the argument on the Mahomes side because we got to see Mahomes play a productive game last year. Trubisky didn't get to play productive games last year because he played for John Fox.
Is this the best offensive set of weapons that Andy Reid's ever had? And I think the answer to that question is yes, and I don't think it's close. So I get the history aspect of him, but at the same time, I think that he's like they have one of the top 2 or 3 best offenses in terms of the talent that Mahomes is throwing to in the league. And I just don't think that Andy Reid has ever had that. I mean, who was his best receiver? T.O. in Philly? I mean, for what, 1 or 2 years? I mean, that was it.
Freddie Mitchell.
Yeah, Freddie Mitchell. Todd Pinkston. James Thrash. Yeah.
James Thrash.
James Thrash.
Oh, Lord.
That's deep dive there.
Sorry, Jordan, man. You killed my man Fred X. I can't stand for that.
So and Nagy was the OC for the Chiefs, and as well as the quarterbacks coach, ironically enough, and working with Andy Reid, I mean, pretty much all along. So very very ironic here with comparing these two, Trubisky and Mahomes, because be kind of working with the same type of. They will be working with the same type of people.
Truth.
Now you got me going down I'm going down the Pro Football Reference black hole now because I'm looking for like the ultimate Andy Reid team.
It's got to be
when Brian Westbrook was their best receiver.
Brian Westbrook, Terrell Owens.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I can't think of the guy's name that was the receiver. I mean, not the receiver, with the tight end.
When they had Macklin,
Brett Selleck.
AJ Smith or whatever.
Yeah, Or I thought it was L.J. Smith, but yeah, same.
L.J. Smith. Yeah.
You were going
Deshaun
to try to
Jackson
say,
was the real deal in Philly.
yeah, he was. You were going to try to say AJ Feely. I knew what you were going to do.
You're not going to find it, Josh. You're
There's
looking
too many
hard.
things to click on PFR now. They have too many flipping links. My
Like
God.
that McCoy, maybe the McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, and trio.
Let's see.
Yeah, that was a good one.
09.
2009 Philadelphia Eagles. Donovan McNabb, LaShawn McCoy,
Yeah.
Brian Westbrook. They also had Deshaun Jackson. They also had Jeremy Maclin.
That's dirty.
They still had Brent Selleck and the indomitable Hank Baskett. So yeah, and they had Mike Vick on that team too. So I mean that's a pretty salty bunch of guys if you think about it. They were the number 2 offense in the league that year.
To your point, Jordan, this
Ain't no
is
Nick Foles, though.
this is arguably his one or two in terms of most talented group. So I think your point still stands.
Oh yeah, it's well taken for sure.
Good job, Josh.
We'll see.
All right, Gabe, take us home. Jake's in the chat saying you guys got to shut it down. I got to get some sleep.
All right. Are you sure we don't want to go through like a rookie mock draft or anything? Draft grades maybe for each
Five rounds? 5 rounds?
5 rounds?
It's only 9 o'clock on the West Coast. I got another 3 hours in me, boys.
Fire it up, man. My Adderall is kicking hard.
Okay. I think we pretty much say this about every week at this point, but I think we've done it as far as the record time. So come back next week to see if we can make it to 3 hours. J-Mike, we're gonna have to change our time to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time.
So that we can start by 9:15.
Yeah, so that we can still wake up for our jobs the next day.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. let's go around the horn, get some final goodbyes from our lovely group here. Brandon/Christian, would you like to say anything?
I appreciate you guys. I'm on Twitter all day, every day, so you can interact with me on there. I'm always publishing articles for Dynasty Happy Hour and soon to be Between the 20s. So appreciate you guys.
I just did something for that recently.
Hey, that's what I like to hear.
The rap intro, right?
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Are you going to co-host the podcast? Or-
Yeah, that's my buddy Mike who started the thing, and I'm gonna own it with him and do everything. So
cool. Congrats. Looking forward to that. So check look out for Between the 20. When y'all do you know anything yet?
Yeah,
Do we
website
have
should
an
be
official
launching.
open bar release date or anything?
No, there's the podcast is out there on iTunes. We'll get some release soon, and the website will be released soon, and rankings and everything. So it'll be a brand new site launching soon.
Soon. Got it. Soon.
At Dynasty_Scout. Get at him.
Yes, very, very active on Twitter. Very, very active on Twitter. So it's a good person to follow and be around in conversations on Twitter and on the open bar. Appreciate having you, my man.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan, the Mac.
Return up the Mac.
I write at uthdynasty.com, and I also contribute at Fantasy Pros. My handle is at McNamara Dynasty. And I'm also in the process of writing a book on dynasty strategy, which I'm going to release probably early 2019 after the 2018 season. So yeah, follow me. I'll have some more updates and some more information as it goes along.
Look at all you guys doing big things. That's exciting. You have a title?
Here we are, J. Mike.
I'm kicking it around a little bit. I think I don't know what I'm going to do. A little dart throw. We'll figure it out.
Good stuff. That's cool.
Well, if you need any help, I write and record hip hop intros for fantasy football podcasts. So, that's right in my wheelhouse.
Does that work on Kindle?
Yeah. Let me read your audio book for you, please.
What about a Motorola Razr? Does that work? No?
Great to have you on, Jordan. I've been kind of following you myself physically and on the internet. I'm actually right behind you. Look out.
Is that creepy van that's sitting outside my window looking in? All right. Now I'm figuring this out. All right.
That's the one. Change it to a Honda Prius to make it look a little less.
Honda Prius.
He's stealing your Wi-Fi.
Get that Wi-Fi. Okay. Josh.
Yes, what's up?
Hey.
Can I help you?
Are you also stealing my Wi-Fi?
Not yet. No. Not yet. My war driving days are over. No, man, it's fun to be on with you guys. I appreciate it. It's I like to rap about Dynasty. I don't play much Dynasty, but I think about it quite a bit because it helps me frame what I'm doing in my best ball leagues a little bit. Believe it or not. So I try to think about the long term as much as I do the short term. So it's good to get some different viewpoints. I appreciate you guys challenging me on a few things. I don't want to be a bully. I don't try to be a bully. And it's good to get some different ideas out there and kind of talk about that stuff. So, we kind of sharpen each other, right? We're steel on steel. I think Ryan says that a lot, or FF Engineer, one of those two sharp guys says that a lot, steel on steel. So I stole that from them.
Yeah. A steal all the way around, borrowing brilliance, all those good terms there. I think the only bully that you are is in those best ball leagues because you crush it and you've got the website to prove it. You've got some good work there.
Yeah, we're still waiting on the. Yeah, I'll plug what I got right now. So right now the website's not active, and that is due to Draft and Fanball not having API data available for me to siphon off of like I did with my fantasy league last year. So once that's available, then the app and the website are imminent, and those will be over at Fantasy Insiders this year.
Oh, okay. Cool. So check that out. That was a huge resource, at least for me, for the last year or two, and kind of how I came across Josh and his love for IPAs. Cheers to you, my
Cheers, mate.
On IPAs. I got a Carbach here as well, by the way. Can't remember what it's called. It's a great.
Always a good decision.
The big and bright.
Oh, the grapefruit IPA.
Yeah. Solid. All right. Words. J Mike. Say them.
Yerp. Words. On Twitter at JMikeCheck, at JMICCheck. You can find the show's Twitter handle at the Open Bar FP, as in the fake pigskin. Again, if you're listening to this in podcast form, obviously you found us either on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, on Google Play, on Podbean, and probably a plethora of other places that I'm really not sure that we are, but we're probably there.
We're on vinyl, right?
8Tracks record, your local record store, you can find us. Please, if you're checking us out, please rate and review us on iTunes. Show us a little bit of love there. If you like us, if you love what we do, which is a lot of nonsense and a lot of fun with a lot of smart people who like to slum it with us, please rate and review us. To our guests, thank you guys so much for joining us. Seriously, I have no shortage of gratitude for you guys choosing to be with us this evening. Very thankful for that. And to my main man, Gabe, on the ones and twos, the one who drives the ship, the one who is my everything, my heart, my love, my boo thing, my small spoon.
Oh,
take us home.
I get to skirt when I want. Skirt. Thank you, J Mike, for saying the only thing you can't say on an iTunes review is that the show is too long, because it's not. There's no way that that's accurate whatsoever.
You can't retain this much goodness into 1 hour. You can't do it.
Yeah, this has been a great show. Apologies for the longevity, but that's just what we're dedicated to and what we're here for. So appreciate y'all. We still got people in the chat chilling with us and staying up late with us. That's great. If you've made it this far in the podcast, thank you for listening, especially. Even if you put us on, how fast can iTunes podcast go? Can you put them on 3 times?
2 times.
2 times?
2 times. Okay.
Well, I'm sure there are some, I don't know the apps that let you go 3 times. If you're listening to us on 2 times, appreciate you. And appreciate you anyways. So we're through Fake Pigskin. They've got a subscription service out on their website, $4 or $5 a month. I mean, what's that, right? Or you can go for the whole year. It's like $30 for the whole year, 35 or so. I mean, come on. What are you doing with your life? I just bought like 6 beers for $9 because Texas is ridiculously expensive. I could have got 2 months of Fake Pigskin. What in the world was I thinking? So,
or a lot of McChickens. I don't know.
Hey. So go check that website out. All of our podcasts and articles and DFS stuff, everything's up there. And they host us. We have a home with them so that we hold them dear to our hearts. We still got Thrive Fantasy going on. You probably see them circulating through. Even though this is a football podcast for the most part, they're still active in DFS. They're doing baseball, a little bit of NBA right now still, some hockey and things like that. Football, I would imagine that things are going to heat up. So go ahead and sign up with them. We'll put our link in the description everywhere that we have things. Sign up with us, and we'll, cheers to you for that. J Mike, I don't know if we have a show next week. I don't know if we have a show in 2 weeks. You know why?
Why is that?
Because the NFL Draft Talker hasn't, talked to whoever our next guest is. So, dude is on vacation. He's probably watching in the chat right now, and I'm talking to you, Jake. I'm looking at you in the eyes.
Get on your job, dude.
Come on. I want you to at every single guy or girl. We need girl. You know what? We need let's in
Ladies
May.
Night 3.0.
We need a ladies night. Let's organize a ladies night in May. That is our open bar promise that we
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you do it.
All right. But we'll be back when we decide to. Hopefully it's next week. We'll see. But thank you all for tuning in. For my people that are joining me right now on this Google Hangout, please put your drink in the air, or at least a fist. Go towards that webcam. Give me a little bump. One of these right here. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
I'm the what am I? I keep every time I type into the YouTube description, J Mike, I keep going Grab Bag Fantasy, but I'm so FF Man Bun. That is the brand. That is the brand, I suppose. Whatever that's worth. Follow me there. That's where I'm at. We'll see y'all. And deuces.